Hi, I'm Chantel Cohen, and I am sitting here with my friend Gary, who's been kind enough to answer some questions on modern love and dating. Are you ready, Gary?
I'm wondering.
I basically forced him to be here. And so, Gary, just answer the questions as naturally as whatever comes to mind. Don't worry about censoring yourself. So I'm going to start out with this first question. What do you want from a relationship?
Basically, from a relationship, I think it's a partnership. Some people think it should be one's in charge of the other or something to that effect, but it's someone to go through life with. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get married at the end of the day, but you got to start somewhere. You got to travel along a path with someone.
Yeah. I hear you that it really does start with partnership. Really well said, because what we know about relationships is if people have a good friendship or you feel like you can count on that person, is the overall quality just goes up tremendously. So partnership is deeply, deeply important. I will tell you though, partnership encompasses a lot. Anything specifically you want to say about partnership?
A lot of it really is, some people take relationships to be, it's like, okay, I'm dating with this person, I might see them once every few weeks type of thing, or there's no commitment in any, I'm not saying as far as the level of getting married, but there's no real commitment in it anymore. It seems like it's a passing thing. It's like something that people do. So when I'm looking at a partnership, it's like, okay, this is the person I want to be with. I'm not looking to say, I want to have this person, I want to have this side piece, the whole 9 yards. Basically, you're just dating, you're fooling around, you're biding your time for something else. And it's like, I've gotten to the point in my life where I've been there, done that, and actually just looking for a little more substance, a little more substantial, and going forward with that. It's like, I'm not going to live forever regardless if I say that myself. Yeah,
that I really do know what you're talking about. Substance. I hear a lot, I see a lot of people as a therapist, and I hear a lot, oh, we hooked up, or we went on a date, and it's like, and are you going to go on a second date? Well, I don't think so. It just feels like, and I've actually read this, that people need more exposures to someone before they're ready to even start dating. And so it really is tough. Or people are just going out with so many folks. It's just hard to tell what people are looking for, or if they're committed or not. So I don't know. I think commitment is in short supply. It's a word that we don't hear much anymore about commitment.
Most of the times you hear commitment, and all of a sudden people are discussing marriage. And it's like, honestly, you don't have to go that far with commitment. It's just a general trust between two people, and lending some trust between you and that person, and having a little, not necessarily stability, but comfort level with that individual.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where commitment begins. And then after that, you can see how far down the road you want to actually get, and to what level you're trying to achieve.
Like you said, you have to start somewhere. And in order to know if that person, if you're compatible, if you want to commit to them, you want to just spend some time, laugh a little, go out for a drink,
actually
see
get
a
to know
movie.
the person. Absolutely.
Yeah. They may turn out to be a really good friend or something more. But I hear all the time, what if I make a mistake? It's like, you have to actually date in order to find someone that you might be compatible with. So anyway, I thank you for answering that and being a little more specific, because that really helps. And so I'm going to talk about my next question, or ask you my next question, is, do you believe in marriage?
I do believe in marriage. And I think a lot of it stems from my upbringing, my family, parents, aunts, uncles. And yes, there was a couple divorces throughout the families, but my folks were married for 40 plus years before my father passed away. And unfortunately, my mom's, you could tell how effective that she is, that he has passed. But a lot of the examples of marriage I saw through my upbringing. And even though, like I said, some of my aunts and uncles, they divorced and they split. The best part about it is they still talk to each other to this day. So my cousins go see their mom or their dad, depending on where they are, what country that they're in, and we go see them, still call them aunt, uncle. There is no separation of, okay, you're Mr. this or Mrs. that at the moment. So you're still my aunt and uncle.
And so I hear you that your parents were married 40 plus years, and then there were a couple of divorces, and you're saying that even though those divorces with a few people happened, it sounds like the family unit was still intact in terms of...
Still cohesive. I mean, there was very few, massive blowouts or something wild and crazy happen in which everyone's like, okay, we don't want to talk to that uncle or that aunt anymore for such and such reasons. Seemed to be very reasonable. So seeing all this in my upbringing and being able to still visit with some of these aunts and uncles and my cousins and so forth, it does give me the understanding that marriage may not work out. It may not be for everybody, but it's still a very viable thing to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's why I do believe in it.
Yeah, it's, I think what you're talking about too is those bonds that happen. And it's not just the people that get married, but these families, and that brings people together. It forms these ties, people that you can count on who really shape you. And no, that makes sense. So I think, a lot of people think about marriage in terms of like financial reasons, but I think you're thinking about marriage as this cohesive bond that happens between families and people.
Becomes part of a unit, part of people that are going to be in your life, be able to help you with influences, sometimes financial, whatever, but it's never set the main goal. It's like, okay, I'm going to get a dowry for marrying you, so it's a transaction. It's like, to me, that's no longer a marriage.
Right.
It's
a
simply
business.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. And in all honesty, we see some of those. I mean, I see some of those where people have gotten together because, hey, I'm a high income earner and you're a high income earner, and let's get together. And it's like, yeah, those last about a minute. So thank you for that. So you do believe in marriage. And so the next question is, this is a good one. Who's supposed to be the breadwinner? Or is anyone supposed to be the breadwinner in the relationship?
In this day and age, it's anyone, at least to me. For one, there's a lot more women in the workplace. In certain areas, predominantly in the workplace is women. For example, I've lived in 3 different countries growing up, and in one of them, it's probably 60% of the workplace is female.
Oh, wow.
Over the guys. And it's just north of the border of us.
Oh,
So,
Mexico. Oh,
North.
sorry, Canada. Sorry. North. I was
Wrong
thinking
direction.
south. Sorry.
But I find, especially among my female cousins, they tell me it's like there's a lot of times, most of them are in the businesses, and they're the ones that are in the office job, so to speak. Not so much as their generation of guys. So, but to me, it's a lot of my friends down here are in high positions, communications, some in finance, and etc., and they're doing very well for themselves. And I think the problem comes in is when people decide to start arguing. It says, I make more money, so you have to do this, or you have to listen to me on that. And I think that's when the breadwinner becomes a problematic situation. And that's kind of what I meant from the beginning about partnership also, is you're in it together. If you're going to be together, be in it together. Don't say, okay, I do this, so therefore I'm in charge. Yes, I understand you want to keep your bank accounts in case something goes down the road, goes wrong. There's practicality to everything. And so that's why I'm always saying anybody can be. I'm not adverse to one or the other. And I don't want to say I have to have all the money.
He's in finance, by the way. And so that's coming from you. That's a lot, though, because you're in finance. And, it's interesting because we're the same gen. And I've interviewed 3 millennial women before you. And whenever I say who should be the breadwinner, they say the man. And it's really, really interesting because I agree with you. I think it's I like more of an egalitarian relationship, and sometimes you're going to pay for this, sometimes I'm going to pay for that. You kind of take care of each other, you contribute, you collaborate, you talk about what your financial goals are together, and you craft that. One may be better at something like Kevin is so much better at like cryptocurrencies, which I cannot figure it out. But he tells me what we need to invest in, so I follow it. But it's, there's some things that he's just better at than I am, or he's more studied. But who needs to be the breadwinner is just, it's really interesting that, and it could be that my sample size is only 3, but it is interesting that it's not just from them that I've heard that. And believing that the man should pay on dates, but then, saying, I want to be treated as an equal. So it's kind of a little bit of a double standard. And so I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah, and it's sort of, as a grown up, it's past history. Mostly men were in the work field. I mean, my parents' generation, it was the men typically was the breadwinner of the family. These days, we have so many single moms, single women in general, that are still working out. They have their education, they're doing what they need to do and moving forward. So I see that there should be a shift, or should be less concentration of who has to be the breadwinner. It's like, if you want to get into a relationship with somebody, then you can argue about it in some level while you're dating. Basically, who's going to go where? It's like, well, if I'm going to pay, okay, you're going to tell me where you're going to go. Oh, we're going to go to Chops tonight. And I'm paying? It's like, really? And what are we doing tomorrow night? Oh, you're going to go to Bistro Nico tomorrow night. Or you're going to someplace else. It's like, there's got to be a limit on there someplace.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's antiquated thinking. It's outdated. That belief system doesn't reflect the norms today in terms of, women are in the workplace, women are equal, and so why aren't they equal when it comes to getting the check at, a date, or I don't understand that.
And I'll give you a funny side story real quick, kind of related to what you just said about getting the check. On vacation was my birthday. My cousin's birthday was around the corner, so I happened to time it being there at the right time. So I asked her roommate, it's like, could you mind hanging out with me for the day? Since you're her roommate, you have a better opinion on what she likes, so I can pick out a gift for her. So go find a gift. She says, oh yeah, she's gonna love that. We're great. All right, let's go do lunch. Go have lunch. And she's telling me about her dating experiences and the whole 9 yards. And I'm just flabbergasted with half of what she's saying. And to add it up, when the waitress comes back out the bill, she takes the bill, drops it directly in front of her. She expected her to pay. And I'm looking at her and she's about to reach for it. And I'm like, excuse me, I asked you out. And this is for me to do me a favor so that we can go ahead and have lunch, help me pick a present for my cousin. It's like, there's not a chance that you're paying for this. So by the time the waitress came back and she saw that I was paying, she was floored. She was just like, who are you and what's going on here? And it's like, no, thank you very kindly. Have a nice day. But it's similar to that concept. It was like, who gets the check sort of thing. But I found it so funny and it really stood out.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess I'll piggyback and I promise that I won't say any more about this and we'll go on to the next question. But I have a modest wine collection, probably like 300 bottles. Like, my friends of mine who are like enophiles have a lot more wine. And so oftentimes I'll bring a bottle of wine to a restaurant and I'll hand the waiter or the som the bottle, and then they'll open it up, put the cork down next to my husband, and then pour and ask him to taste it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it happens so often. And Kevin always says, give it to her. She's the one, it's her wine. She knows about the wine, but it's really interesting to me that happens over and over and over again.
It's like basically you just became transportation.
Yeah, it's we have a green egg, And, you know, I go to the green egg store and the guy's like, he literally called me little lady. And he said, you know, oh, you in here buying some things for your husband? And I'm like, no, my husband bought me the green egg as a present. It's mine. It's just kind of interesting. So, you know, really bucking some of those stereotypes. And I hear you that, you know, it's okay. You know, whoever invites whom out, that's who pays, and that's okay. It feels right to me. But I know that people have different levels of right. And you guys, if you don't agree with me, it's okay. You can put it in the comments as long as you're nice. You know, but don't send any hate my way.